The flames of faith. In 1930, as dawn broke over the ancient Ethiopian monastery perched high in the mountains, an unprecedented disaster struck. Flames engulfed the centuries-old structure, threatening not just the building, but thousands of years of spiritual heritage. Inside, amid the chaos and billowing smoke, Ethiopian Orthodox monks faced an impossible choice. Without hesitation, they rushed into the inferno. Their mission, to save one of humanity's most mysterious and ancient religious texts, the Ethiopian Bible. As the fire raged around them, these guardians of faith emerged with their precious cargo. A massive tome bound in aged leather, its pages yellowed by time but preserved through centuries of careful stewardship. This dramatic rescue would later be recognized as a pivotal moment in religious history, preserving what scholars now consider one of the world's most enigmatic sacred texts. A Bible containing 88 books, compared to the standard 66, and holding secrets that continue to intrigue religious scholars worldwide. The uncolonized legacy Ethiopia stands as a remarkable testament to African resilience and sovereignty. Unlike any other African nation, it successfully resisted colonization, maintaining its independence through centuries of global imperialism. This unique status allowed Ethiopia to preserve its cultural and religious heritage in ways that distinguish it from other nations on the continent. Situated in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia's history stretches back to antiquity, with archaeological evidence suggesting human habitation dating to the earliest known human ancestors. The nation's historical timeline interweaves with biblical narratives, most notably through the lineage of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, establishing a connection that reaches back to the roots of Abrahamic faiths. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, established in the 4th century, represents one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world. This ancient institution has maintained its distinct traditions, liturgical practices, and sacred texts through centuries of regional conflicts and changing political landscapes. The Church's resilience mirrors that of the nation itself, preserving its identity despite numerous challenges from both external powers and internal strife. This unique historical position has allowed Ethiopia to maintain and protect religious artifacts and texts that might otherwise have been lost to time or colonial intervention. The hidden scripture. Among the world's religious texts, the Ethiopian Bible stands as a unique testament to early Christian thought and tradition. This remarkable collection contains 88 books, significantly more than the 66 found in most modern Bibles, each offering insights into ancient religious practices and beliefs that have largely been lost to time. Written in Ge'ez, the ancient liturgical language of Ethiopia, this sacred text represents more than just a religious document. It embodies centuries of Ethiopian scholarship, artistry, and spiritual devotion. The additional books, including texts like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, provide fascinating glimpses into early Christian and Jewish traditions that were eventually excluded from other biblical canons. What makes this Bible particularly intriguing is not just its content, but its survival through centuries of tumultuous history. Preserved through the dedicated efforts of generations of Ethiopian Orthodox scholars and priests. Next, I can proceed with Part 2a, The Journey of Queen Sheba, 400 words. This section will delve into the historical narrative of Queen Sheba's journey to Jerusalem, her meeting with Solomon, and the lasting impact of this legendary encounter. The Queen's Journey. In the 10th century BCE, an extraordinary diplomatic mission unfolded across the ancient trade routes connecting the Horn of Africa to Jerusalem. The Queen of Sheba, ruler of an affluent Ethiopian kingdom, embarked on a journey that would leave an indelible mark on religious history and create a lasting connection between two distant lands. Historical records and traditional accounts describe the Queen's caravan as a magnificent spectacle. Laden with precious gifts of gold, rare spices, and exotic hardwoods, the procession moved through challenging terrains, crossing vast deserts, navigating treacherous mountain passes, and traversing established trade routes that had connected African kingdoms with the Middle East for generations. The Ethiopian records preserved in the Kebra Nagast, the Glory of Kings, detail how the Queen, known in Ethiopian tradition as Makeda, sought out King Solomon of Jerusalem, having heard of his legendary wisdom. This meeting would prove transformative for both kingdoms. The Kebra Nagast describes extensive philosophical and theological discussions between the two monarchs, touching on matters of governance, faith, and wisdom. What makes this historical encounter particularly significant is its lasting impact on Ethiopian religious tradition. According to Ethiopian chronicles, this visit resulted in not just diplomatic ties, but also a profound cultural and religious exchange. The Queen's return to Ethiopia marked the beginning of a new era, introducing elements of Judaic tradition that would later influence the development of Ethiopian Christianity. The legacy of this journey extends beyond religious significance. Trade routes established during this period facilitated cultural exchange between Ethiopia and Jerusalem for centuries to come. The architectural influences, trading practices, and diplomatic protocols established during this time created lasting connections between these ancient civilizations. Archaeological evidence from this period reveals the extent of trade and cultural exchange between the regions, with artifacts showing clear stylistic influences from both cultures. Ancient ports along the Red Sea coast bear testament to the vibrant trade networks that facilitated such diplomatic missions. The rise of Ethiopian Christianity. The establishment of Christianity in Ethiopia marks one of the most distinctive chapters in religious history. In the 4th century CE, during the reign of King Ezana, Ethiopia became one of the first nations to adopt Christianity as its state religion. This transformation, however, was unique among early Christian conversions, as it built upon pre-existing religious traditions that had been influenced by earlier Judaic practices. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church emerged as a distinct institution, developing independently from European Christian traditions. Historical records indicate that Christianity's introduction to Ethiopia came through multiple channels. Egyptian Coptic missionaries, Syrian traders, and local converts all played crucial roles in establishing the faith. The 6th century Egyptian traveler and historian Cosmas Indicopleustes documented the already flourishing Christian community during his visits to Ethiopia. During periods of religious persecution elsewhere, Ethiopia gained prominence as a sanctuary for Christian refugees. The kingdom's geographical isolation and strong military presence allowed it to offer protection to displaced Christian communities from across the Middle East and North Africa. These refugees brought with them various religious texts, traditions, and practices, contributing to the unique character of Ethiopian Christianity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church developed its distinctive liturgical traditions, including the use of the ancient Ge'ez language in religious services. This practice continues to this day, preserving linguistic and cultural elements that have vanished elsewhere. The Church maintained its own ecclesiastical hierarchy, religious calendar, and architectural traditions, creating a Christian tradition distinctly African in character, while remaining connected to broader Christian orthodoxy. What distinguishes Ethiopian Christianity is its preservation of early Christian practices and texts that were gradually lost or modified in other Christian traditions. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church maintained its connection to the Coptic Church of Alexandria until the 1950s, while developing its unique identity and religious practices. The Church has preserved ancient religious manuscripts, including early biblical texts and commentaries that provide valuable insights into early Christian thought and practice. The sacred art of preservation. Throughout centuries, Ethiopian monasteries developed sophisticated methods for preserving their sacred texts, creating a preservation tradition that stands as one of the most successful in religious history. These techniques, passed down through generations of dedicated scholars and monks, combined physical preservation with rigorous systems of authentication and reproduction. The monasteries, often built in remote mountainous locations, provided natural protection against both human and environmental threats. The high altitude and dry climate of these locations created ideal conditions for manuscript preservation. Within these sanctuaries, specialized rooms were designed specifically for housing sacred texts, with careful attention paid to temperature and humidity control through traditional architectural methods. Ethiopian scribes developed unique preservation techniques using locally sourced materials. The parchment was prepared from carefully selected goat or sheep skin, processed through traditional methods that proved remarkably effective at resisting decay. The ink was created from natural materials, including local plants and minerals, producing scripts that have maintained their clarity for centuries. These traditional inks demonstrated remarkable resistance to fading and environmental damage. The transmission of these texts involved a sophisticated system of verification and reproduction. Senior scholars would oversee the copying process, implementing multiple levels of review to ensure accuracy. Each new copy would be checked against the original by different scholars, with specific rituals and prayers accompanying each stage of the process. This meticulous approach to reproduction helped maintain the integrity of the texts through generations. During periods of conflict, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church developed innovative methods for protecting their sacred texts. Monasteries maintained secret chambers and developed complex systems for quickly relocating valuable manuscripts when threatened. The geographic isolation of many Ethiopian monasteries, combined with the strong cultural tradition of protecting religious artifacts, helped ensure the survival of these ancient texts. The commitment to preservation extended beyond physical protection. Monks dedicated their lives to memorizing texts, ensuring that even if physical copies were destroyed, the content would survive through oral transmission. This living tradition of preservation continues today, with modern Ethiopian scholars maintaining these ancient practices while incorporating contemporary conservation techniques. The structural marvel of the Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible represents a unique compilation of religious texts that differs significantly from other biblical canons in both its structure and content. At its core, this sacred text contains 88 books, presenting a more extensive collection than the 66 books found in most modern Protestant Bibles, or the 73 books in the Catholic canon. The Ethiopian biblical canon is organized into distinct sections, each carrying particular theological significance. The Old Testament section includes all the books found in other traditions, but supplements these with additional texts considered equally authoritative within Ethiopian Orthodox theology. Among these supplementary texts are the Books of Enoch, Jubilees, and several other works that offer unique insights into ancient Jewish and early Christian thought. The New Testament section also presents distinctive features. While containing the familiar four Gospels, Acts of the Apostles, and Pauline epistles, it includes additional works such as the Shepherd of Hermas and the Didascalia Apostolorum. These texts provide valuable insights into early Christian practices and beliefs, particularly regarding church organization and moral conduct. What makes this compilation particularly noteworthy is its preservation of complete versions of texts that exist only in fragments in other traditions. The Ethiopian Bible contains the only complete version of the Book of Enoch in its original language, a text that has proven invaluable for understanding early Jewish apocalyptic literature and its influence on early Christianity. The text itself is written in Ge'ez, the classical liturgical language of Ethiopia. This linguistic aspect has played a crucial role in preserving the original meaning of many passages, as Ge'ez remained relatively unchanged over centuries, protected from the evolutionary forces that affected other ancient languages. The stability of Ge'ez has helped maintain the integrity of the original texts, though it has also presented challenges for modern scholars working to translate and interpret these ancient writings. Unresolved enigmas of the Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible contains several intriguing elements that continue to challenge modern scholars and researchers. Within its ancient pages lie various untranslated passages, complex symbolic references, and prophetic texts that present unique interpretative challenges for religious scholars and historians alike. One of the most significant mysteries centers around certain passages in the Book of Enoch, preserved completely only in the Ethiopian Bible. These passages contain detailed astronomical calculations and prophetic visions that demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements. The precision of these astronomical observations, recorded centuries ago, raises important questions about the knowledge systems of ancient Ethiopian scholars. Several pages within various manuscripts contain marginal notes written in what appears to be a specialized scribal code. These annotations, distinct from the main gaze text, suggest a complex system of textual interpretation that was known to only a select group of Ethiopian religious scholars. The meaning of many of these annotations remains unclear, as the tradition of their interpretation has been partially lost over time. The Ethiopian Bible also contains unique prophetic passages not found in other biblical traditions. These prophecies, particularly those relating to the succession of kingdoms and religious authorities, present interpretative challenges due to their complex symbolic language and historical references. Some of these prophecies appear to parallel historical events, while others remain subjects of ongoing scholarly debate. Certain sections of the text show evidence of multiple translation layers, suggesting a complex transmission history. Passages exist where the gaze text appears to preserve readings from earlier Hebrew or Greek sources that have since been lost in other traditions. These textual variants provide valuable insights into the development of biblical texts, but also raise questions about their original forms. The manuscript tradition itself presents additional mysteries. Variations between different manuscript copies suggest the existence of multiple textual traditions within Ethiopian Christianity. Some manuscripts contain additional marginal symbols and reference marks whose purpose and meaning remain unclear to modern scholars. These differences between manuscripts have led to ongoing debates about the original composition and arrangement of certain biblical books. The Ethiopian Bible's unique chronological framework, particularly in its historical books, sometimes differs from other biblical traditions. These variations in dating and historical sequence have led to scholarly discussions about different ancient methods of calculating time and recording historical events. Cultural legacy and spiritual significance. The Ethiopian Bible stands as a cornerstone of Ethiopian cultural identity and spiritual heritage, serving multiple roles beyond its religious function. Within Ethiopian society, these sacred texts represent a bridge between ancient traditions and contemporary spiritual practice, shaping both religious observance and national identity. For the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, these texts serve as the foundation of their distinctive theological tradition. The additional books contained within their Bible provide deeper context for religious practices, influencing everything from liturgical ceremonies to daily devotional life. Church scholars have developed extensive commentaries and interpretative traditions around these texts, creating a rich theological framework that continues to guide religious instruction and practice. The influence of these sacred texts extends into Ethiopian cultural life beyond purely religious contexts. The stories, wisdom literature, and historical accounts contained within the Ethiopian Bible have shaped Ethiopian literature, art, and social values. Traditional Ethiopian education has long incorporated these texts as foundational reading material, using them to teach not only religious principles, but also history, ethics, and literary style. In terms of historical significance, the Ethiopian Bible provides valuable insights into early Christian and Jewish traditions. Its preservation of ancient texts that were lost in other traditions has made it an invaluable resource for understanding the development of monotheistic religions. The Ethiopian Bible's unique content offers scholars a window into religious thoughts and practices that might otherwise have been lost to history. The international scholarly community has increasingly recognized the importance of these texts in understanding the broader development of religious thought. The Ethiopian Bible's preservation of complete versions of texts like the Book of Enoch has provided crucial evidence for understanding the religious and intellectual environment of the ancient world. These texts have helped scholars better understand the historical context in which both Judaism and Christianity developed. Within contemporary Ethiopian society, these sacred texts continue to play a vital role in maintaining cultural continuity and national identity. During periods of political upheaval and social change, the Ethiopian Bible has served as a source of stability and cultural pride. Its continued use in religious services, combined with its role in education and cultural preservation, helps maintain connections between modern Ethiopians and their historical heritage. diverse perspectives, and academic discourse. The authenticity and significance of the Ethiopian Bible have generated substantial academic and theological discussions across the international religious community. These debates center on several key areas, each reflecting different approaches to understanding this ancient text. The primary discussion revolves around the authenticity of the additional books included in the Ethiopian canon. Western biblical scholars have traditionally approached these texts with skepticism, questioning their historical provenance and theological authority. They point to the later dating of some manuscripts and the absence of these texts from other early Christian traditions. Ethiopian scholars, conversely, maintain that their biblical tradition preserves authentic early Christian and Jewish writings that were inappropriately excluded from other canons. Textual scholars have focused on the relationship between the Ge'ez translations and earlier Greek and Hebrew sources. Studies of the Ethiopian texts have revealed complex translation histories, with evidence suggesting multiple stages of transmission through different languages. This multi-layered history has led to debates about the accuracy of the preserved texts and their relationship to other ancient versions. The question of pseudepigrapha, texts attributed to ancient authors but likely written later, presents another area of scholarly discussion. While some academics view these texts as later compositions with limited historical value, Ethiopian scholars argue for their authenticity, pointing to their preservation of ancient traditions and their consistent use in Ethiopian religious practice. Historical analysis of the Ethiopian Bible has also sparked debates about the development of early Christianity. The presence of unique theological perspectives and religious practices in these texts challenges traditional understandings of early Christian diversity. Scholars continue to examine how these texts reflect different strands of early Christian thought and practice. The archaeological evidence supporting various aspects of the Ethiopian biblical tradition has generated its own scholarly discourse. Discoveries of ancient manuscripts and religious sites have provided new material for understanding the historical context of these texts, though interpretations of this evidence often vary among different academic circles. The preservation challenge, safeguarding sacred heritage. The preservation of the Ethiopian Bible presents significant challenges that span physical conservation, linguistic expertise, and cultural maintenance. These challenges have become increasingly complex as traditional preservation methods intersect with modern conservation requirements. Physical preservation remains a primary concern for these ancient manuscripts. The traditional storage facilities in Ethiopian monasteries, while remarkably effective for centuries, face new challenges from environmental changes and aging infrastructure. The delicate parchment pages, created through traditional methods, require specific environmental conditions to prevent deterioration. Many ancient monasteries now struggle to maintain these optimal conditions while preserving traditional storage practices. The linguistic challenge presents another significant hurdle. The Ge'ez language, though crucial for preserving the original texts, is now primarily a liturgical language, with few scholars possessing complete mastery of its nuances. This limitation creates difficulties in training new generations of scholars capable of reading and interpreting the texts accurately. The translation process requires not only linguistic expertise but also deep understanding of historical and cultural contexts. Cultural preservation presents equally complex challenges. As modern education systems evolve, fewer young Ethiopians receive traditional religious training that includes instruction in Ge'ez and ancient manuscript handling. This gap in traditional knowledge transmission threatens the continuation of centuries-old preservation practices. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church works to maintain these traditions while adapting to contemporary educational needs. Resource limitations affect preservation efforts significantly. Many monasteries housing important manuscripts lack adequate funding for modern conservation equipment and facilities. The cost of proper storage materials, climate control systems, and security measures often exceeds available resources. Additionally, The remote locations of many manuscript repositories make it difficult to implement and maintain modern preservation technologies. The balance between accessibility and preservation creates another challenge. While scholars and researchers seek access to these texts for study, frequent handling can accelerate manuscript deterioration. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church must carefully manage these competing needs while maintaining their traditional role as guardians of these sacred texts. Future directions and international collaboration. The preservation and study of the Ethiopian Bible are entering a new phase, characterized by international cooperation and innovative approaches to conservation. Leading institutions worldwide are partnering with Ethiopian religious authorities to develop comprehensive strategies for protecting these invaluable texts while making them more accessible to scholars and researchers. Current preservation initiatives focus on developing sustainable solutions that respect traditional practices while incorporating modern conservation techniques. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has established partnerships with international conservation experts to create specialized training programs for local scholars and conservators. These programs combine traditional Ethiopian manuscript preservation methods with contemporary conservation standards, ensuring the text's physical integrity while maintaining cultural authenticity. Documentation efforts have expanded significantly, with systematic cataloging of manuscripts across Ethiopia's monasteries and churches. International academic institutions are collaborating with Ethiopian scholars to create detailed records of existing texts, including high-resolution photography and detailed condition reports. This documentation serves both preservation and research purposes, creating a comprehensive database of Ethiopian biblical manuscripts. Research opportunities have broadened through academic exchange programs between Ethiopian religious institutions and international universities. These partnerships facilitate the training of new scholars in both traditional Ethiopian religious studies and modern research methodologies. The programs particularly emphasize the importance of maintaining Ethiopian scholarly traditions while engaging with international academic standards. Translation initiatives have gained momentum, with teams of scholars working to make the Ethiopian Bible more accessible to international audiences. These projects carefully balance the need for accurate translation with respect for the traditional interpretations maintained by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The translations aim to preserve the nuanced meanings present in the original Ge'ez text, while making them comprehensible to modern readers. The enduring value of Ethiopia's sacred text. The Ethiopian Bible stands as a remarkable testament to human dedication in preserving spiritual and cultural heritage. Its significance extends far beyond its religious content, representing a unique intersection of historical documentation, cultural preservation, and religious tradition that has survived through centuries of global change. The text's primary value lies in its comprehensive nature, preserving ancient religious writings that have been lost or fragmented in other traditions. The Ethiopian Bible's 88 books provide scholars with invaluable insights into early Christian and Jewish thought, offering perspectives that complement and sometimes challenge conventional understanding of religious history. This preservation has proven particularly significant for texts like the Book of Enoch, which exists in its complete form only in the Ethiopian tradition. The manuscript tradition surrounding the Ethiopian Bible demonstrates remarkable continuity in religious practice and scholarly dedication. The preservation methods developed by Ethiopian monasteries have ensured the survival of these texts through numerous historical challenges, creating an unbroken chain of transmission that spans nearly 2 millennia. This achievement in preservation stands as a testament to the sophisticated cultural practices of Ethiopian religious scholars. Furthermore, the Ethiopian Bible serves as a living document within contemporary Ethiopian society, continuing to influence religious practice, cultural identity, and national consciousness. Its ongoing use in religious services and its role in education demonstrate how ancient texts can maintain their relevance while preserving historical traditions. Lessons for modern heritage conservation. The story of the Ethiopian Bible offers profound insights for contemporary approaches to cultural preservation. Its successful preservation through centuries provides valuable lessons about the importance of combining traditional knowledge with institutional commitment. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church's preservation methods demonstrate the effectiveness of systematic approaches to protecting cultural heritage. Their traditional practices, developed over centuries, often anticipated modern conservation principles such as climate control, careful handling protocols, and documentation requirements. These methods highlight how indigenous knowledge systems can contribute to heritage preservation. The Ethiopian Bible's survival also underscores the importance of community engagement in preservation efforts. The continued involvement of local communities in maintaining these texts shows how cultural heritage preservation depends on active participation rather than mere institutional oversight. This model of community-based conservation offers valuable insights for modern preservation initiatives worldwide. Moreover, the Ethiopian experience demonstrates the significance of maintaining cultural practices alongside physical artifacts. The preservation of the Ge'ez language, traditional scholarly practices, and religious ceremonies alongside the physical texts ensures a comprehensive approach to cultural heritage conservation. This holistic preservation model provides important lessons for modern conservation efforts that sometimes focus solely on physical preservation. Looking forward, the future of Ethiopian biblical heritage. The future of the Ethiopian Bible stands at a crucial intersection of tradition and innovation. With increasing international recognition of its significance, new opportunities are emerging for both preservation and scholarly study of these ancient texts. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has begun implementing comprehensive plans for long-term conservation. These initiatives include the establishment of specialized training programs for new generations of scholars and conservators. The focus remains on maintaining traditional preservation methods while incorporating appropriate modern conservation techniques. This balanced approach ensures the text's physical preservation while respecting their cultural and spiritual significance. International academic interest continues to grow, leading to expanded research opportunities. Universities and religious institutions worldwide are developing partnerships with Ethiopian religious authorities, creating new avenues for scholarly exchange and collaborative research. These partnerships respect Ethiopian authority over their sacred texts while facilitating broader academic access and understanding. The digitization and documentation of manuscripts proceed with careful attention to cultural sensitivities. These efforts aim to create comprehensive records while ensuring the texts remain under appropriate cultural and religious stewardship. The goal is not just preservation, but also ensuring these sacred texts continue to serve their living religious and cultural functions within Ethiopian society. This concludes our comprehensive analysis of the Ethiopian Bible, its historical significance, preservation challenges, and future prospects. The story of these sacred texts demonstrates how religious tradition, cultural heritage, and scholarly dedication can combine to preserve invaluable aspects of human, spiritual, and cultural history. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating exploration of the Ethiopian Bible's rich history and significance. We value your thoughts and insights on this remarkable piece of religious heritage. Please share your perspectives in the comments below. What aspects of this ancient text intrigue you the most? Support our team's ongoing efforts to bring you compelling historical content by subscribing to our channel. Your subscription helps us continue producing well-researched, in-depth content on significant historical and cultural topics. If you found this video informative, please consider sharing it with friends, family, and colleagues who might appreciate learning about this unique aspect of religious history. Your engagement through likes and shares helps us reach a broader audience and fosters meaningful discussions about cultural heritage. We appreciate your continued support as we explore more fascinating stories from world history.